Hey friends, I've got a rare one for you all today. It is your buddy Keith, and I am here live again in the control room of the one and only world famous Essex Recording Studios, just outside London in Southend-on-Sea, England, baby. Here we are, and I've got a 1991 Fender American Prodigy Strat. These things were only made for 2 years. The first year got a standard Fender synchronized tremolo. The next year, the 92, got a kind of a weird Kaler, however you want to pronounce it, double locking tremolo. The earlier ones are the more sought after and harder to find. And they're really, really cool. I'm going to tell you all about the features. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you're new, because it's free. And we're really trying to get to 10,000. We're so close. And hit like on the video for me. We appreciate the support. Takes like a millisecond of your time and helps us out. Cool. So, what is the Fender Prodigy? Let's have a look at this headstock. Now, without going to Wikipedia and without Googling and anything else, tell me if you notice anything different about this headstock. Have a little look-see. There's a logo, the model Prodigy, that's very modern. The Fender logo is fine. You've got the N1. The N is for the 1990s. The 1 is the year, so 1991. And then it looks like it was the 1076th production guitar built that year. But what's different is the headstock is actually, it's a traditional Fender Strat shape, but it is slightly elongated and slightly thinner. Very, very interesting. You've got the vintage style string tree there. You have truss rod adjustment from up here. Thank God. I hate having to take the neck off or dig into the pick guard. And you've got a beautiful maple neck. They made these with maple or rosewood configurations. Personally, on the white with the black plastics and hardware, I think the, which is plastics really, the hardware is chrome on this. I think the maple with the black dot inlays is a nice aesthetic. I think that's my preferred look on these. I've seen them in white and I've seen them in red. I actually had the bass version of this. They made a Prodigy bass around the same time. And I've never got my hands on one of the guitars. So we talked about how the headstock looks different, but you'll notice the body looks a bit different too, because this was designed to compete with the Super Strats that were eating away into the Strat body, double cutaway Strat body market. That's Jackson was eating up that profit share. Charvel, owned by Jackson at that time. Ibanez, you know, it's funny, all these years later, now Fender owns Jackson and Charvel. They don't own Ibanez. They don't own everything. But I guess at some point they said, you know what, if we can't beat them and we can't join them, but we can own them. So they bought them. But let's go get a Fender Strat body over here so you can see what the difference is like. So here's actually a really cool Strat that put the strings back on because I had a little look at the hardware. So look at these rounded horns and look at how, you know, look at the shape of the bottom of the guitar too. It's pretty even. You get the little bend there, and you've got these thick rounded horns, whereas here they're thinner, they're sharper, and then you have an offset. It's not the, you know, from here to here is not the same. On this side it shifts up, and you do still have a little bit of the bend there, but Fender Strat body there, and Prodigy Strat body here. Okay, so they do call this an offset body, and that is something that's a little bit different. You have closer to the Ibanez or soloist style horns, and then I don't think those guitars are offset body, but you get a little bit of the old Jaguar, the old Jazzmaster, a little bit of the offset treatment there. It's also an HSS format, or a fat Strat, as they like to say. So you've got the humbucker to 2 single coils, and then where the third tone would be, you have master volume, master tone. 5-way switch is really nice with a big beefy thing up here, and you've got a top-mounted input jack where what a lot of people do is they just use an L-bend cable or lead to connect to their amplifier. That's a straight one. Do we have any L-bend ones here? Well, you can use your imagination. You know what they look like. Yeah. As far as what the pickup models are, I spent about a half an hour on the old Googletron, trying to find out any detailed information, and everything just says like humbucker and 2 single coils. They're not saying like, oh, it's a Texas Hot Rod Deluxe thing or a vintage 60s thing. I don't know. You'll have to take it off, and I'm not even sure if it's labeled. I haven't taken everything off. I'll leave that. I'll tell you what. I'll leave it to whoever ends up buying this, and they can come back to the comment section in the video and let us know and solve that mystery. But what I can tell you is if you look in the forums for people that talk about this model, again, you can only get this 1 year. They made the Prodigy for 2 years. I think like halfway into 91 into like the beginning of 93. I think it's just about 2 years of production. But only the first year, the 91, got the standard Fender synchronized tremolo. And that's the one that everybody wants. So these are really hard to come by. And I'm looking in the forums today, and there's posts from like 10 years ago, 13 years ago. And universally, everyone's super happy with their Prodigy. Back then, people were getting like, oh, I found one for $600. I found a good deal. One guy was like, I found one for $150. This guy got it for like a high school birthday present years ago. He didn't even know what he had, and he knew nothing about it. And it's funny. And then they're like, these things are great. They're like, oh, I've got a American Strat. I've got a made in Mexico Strat. And like, I like this one way better. And the pickups is one of the things that they talk about. Apparently, they're a bit hotter and a bit brighter than typical Fender Strats of the day. But it's really going to come down to what your setup is, you know. All of those amps right there, VHT, the Saldana, the Mesa Boogie, the PV, the Diesel, or these Marshalls, they're all going to do dramatically different tones. Doesn't matter what your pickups are, and all of these little stomp boxes over here. And then it depends on what cabs you're using in there. And then it depends on what mic you're putting in front of the cab. And then the mic is going to which mic preamp, and all of that stuff. And then there's your playing style, which is going to be different from my playing style, or Bob's playing style, or Ted's playing style. So one of the reasons why I don't sit around here and do a lot of demos for you guys is, one, I do not have the time, but I will get other people to come in and do demos. Slowly getting there. But because it's not necessarily helpful for telling you what this guitar would sound like in your hands through your setup. You know? A competent player can make any guitar sound good. You can go, I mean, I think Zakk Wylde goes and plays a little Hello Kitty guitar and shreds on it until it explodes. Yeah. So that's that, guys. This is the Fender Prodigy, the 1991. They only made this model 1 year with this bridge, and then another year after with, I think it's the Caller Spider bridge. And this comes after, I should have mentioned this earlier, but this comes after the late 80s attempt that Fender had to make a metal Super Strat, and that was the Fender HM. I think those were made, I think they were made in Japan. Some of the later metal ones with Caller tremolos were made in Japan. I think they did make an American HM Strat, and they might have even been neck through. I haven't actually had one yet. I'll tell you what, that inspires me. I'm going to go find an HM, which stood for heavy metal, by the way. I'm going to go find an 80s heavy metal Strat, and we'll go get it on the channel so we can show you the up-close details, and I can learn about it, and I can share you all that knowledge too. But now you can go tell all your friends that you hung out with your buddy Keith today in his recording studio in England, and you learned all about the 1991 Fender Prodigy. Super rare guitar with the offset body, the longer, thinner headstock, and the HSS pickup configuration. There you go. As far as condition goes, I'm sure you've already clocked it. You've already seen it here in the video. There's a few minor little marks, like I noticed on the neck. There's a little, I don't know, what is it? There's like a little rub mark right there, and there's a few little things in the lacquer. There's not the guitar is super clean. It just has one spot right here where there's a few paint chips. That's really your blemish area on this guitar. The rest is like really clean. I mean, if you look in the neck pockets, got some dust and stuff, but like there's no crack there. Tiny little hairline there. Don't see any buckle rash, you know. It's really just this spot. And you've got a couple of options. You can get over it and play the hell out of this thing and have some fun and put your own marks and boo-boos in it. By the way, I really like the maple on this neck. It's like lightly flamed. You can go get some white out. I've lived in England for like coming on 9 years, and I still don't know what they call white out here. I forget every time someone tells me, and usually someone goes in the comment section and reminds me, and I'll still forget. So sorry about that. But yeah, that white stuff you use to like correct your old papers, like liquid paper or whatever, that stuff generally, fills in nicely. You could just refinish the guitar if you want, and you could do it back in its factory original white, or do something crazy, airbrush some skulls and dragons on it. Do whatever the heck you want, man. I mean, this guy did dragons. He did it on... These are real inlays, by the way. How crazy is that? Yeah. So, with that being said, I've got to skedaddle. I'm super tired. I've got to drive the missus to the airport early in the morning. And she's got dinner waiting for me. What a sweetheart. So I'm going to go. I'm going to scram. Again, if you want to buy this guitar, in all my years, I've only been able to get one. They're very rare, especially in the UK and Europe. They're extremely hard to get a hold of. First one I've ever seen in the flesh. And it can be yours if you go to the EssexRecordingStudios.com website. Also, if you're in America, just so you know, when you buy things and you have to pay tax and duty and stuff, the duty is based on where an item is made, not where it's sent from. So because this is made in America, there's no customs duty. It's returning to its country of origin. However, if you're in America, half the states have something called online sales tax, market facilitator tax. And if you buy on big websites, that's what those laws are for. Amazon, eBay, Reverb, Etsy. You have to pay a sales tax. If you buy from non-marketplaces online, like individual shops, like the Essex Recording Studio shop, you don't have to pay that sales tax. So a little life hack for my American fans and friends and customers, because I think about 30% of the people that watch the channel are my fellow Americans back on the other side of the pond. So you need to know that stuff. Cool. I'm going to go. But if you do want to buy it on Reverb, it's also going to be there too. It ain't going to be an arm and a leg. It's going to be a very reasonable price for what American Fender Strats go for these days. Which, man, I mean, let's face it, the prices are going up. I think Fender just announced they're going to have a 10 to 15% raise in 22 across their lineup, just because of all the issues with like Canadian maple and supply chain issues and labor costs increasing, and I guess any excuse you can have to raise prices. Why not? Right? They're a business. But it's going to be a very reasonable price in line with what American Strats go for. And at the end of the day, guys, they only made these 1 year. You can't just go down to your local guitar shop and find one. And I spent a lot of time looking real hard to go find one. And your purchases do help keep the lights on here and help us get all this cool stuff that I don't even use. I don't even know how to use this thing. I got to pay so much money for it. Well, this is for our artists. It's for you guys. If you can make your way over here, it's for everybody to make awesome music with the best equipment in the world. And it's your purchases of guitars like this that help me do that. So thank you to friends that have already purchased from me, and to future friends who will make a purchase. Thank you so much. With that being said, adios. I am off. I will see you soon with more guitar videos to come. Catch y'all later.